Hi everyone, it's Miss Brenner. I'm here to read with you today an persuasive article about our topic as far as whether we feel football should be taking place on a college level during COVID-19 or if it should not. So this is our part 2 of that conversation. This is football's economic impact on college towns, college players, and the NFL. So this is a in support of article about the impact college football has on our society. So let's start off with our article, which is by Andrew Brandt. It is from the SI.com series, and it was published on August 18th, 2020. Alrighty guys, so we're going to start out on page 1. Before we get started though, I do want to ask you guys this question. How important do you feel money is to having a happy life? So if you guys could answer that in Edpuzzle, and we'll talk a little bit about it. The next thing I want to talk about is these 8 different categories, having you guys rank them based on your personal opinion as far as how important they are. So we're looking at the economy, healthcare, immigration, global trade, personal liberties, the environment, safety and security, and education. The top 4 would be what you feel is the most important to have a prosperous country, society, however you want to word it. And the bottom 4 would be the ones that you feel are the least important to building a prosperous country/society. Alrighty. So, how important would you say the economy is to having a prosperous country? Please enter your answer in Edpuzzle. Alrighty guys. So, we are going to start off on page 1 at the top. A look at a rare loss for the business of sports as 2 major college football conferences cancel fall games. What it means for campuses, players, and the NFL, plus a look at the real value of the Kittle and Kellick contracts, the Chiefs expose, the cap myth, and more. So this is our article, Football's Economic Impact on College Towns, College Players, and the NFL by Andrew Brandt. You know my saying, the business of sports always wins. This week, however, my adage was proven wrong, as the Big Ten and Pac-12 conferences pulled the plug on fall college football, setting fire to a collective billions of dollars worth of sorely needed revenue. For these 2 power players in the business of college football, health and safety, surprisingly, won out over the business of sports. For now, the other Power 5 conferences, SEC, ACC, and Big 12, are forging ahead with football. Perhaps their conference leaders received different medical and scientific opinions. Perhaps they received different legal opinions. There are always lawyers. Either way, those conference leaders, for now, are more comfortable and confident managing the medical and legal risk of playing through a pandemic. And while reports indicated Big Ten presidents were clearly affected by evidence of myocarditis in athletes, those concerns and risks have not impacted the other conferences in the same way. For now. As evidenced by recent announcements of conference-only schedules by the Big Ten and Pac-12, everything is fluid. Alright, so that is section 1. Before we continue, I want to take a note and remind you that paraphrasing is a rewording of something written or spoken by someone else using approximately the same length of wording. For example, if my original text said Saturday afternoon college football is a way of life for millions of Americans, I could re-paraphrase that in my own words to say, for a large portion of the American population, college football is a sacred weekend tradition. It would not be considered paraphrased if I wrote, lots of people like football. So I'm going to have you guys paraphrase the underlined section of part 1 that states in the original text, for these 2 power players in the business of college football, health and safety surprisingly won out over the business of sports. Please put your paraphrased answer in the Edpuzzle. Alright, next we are going to list 3 elements of Section 1 that are central to understanding the article thus far. Please put your answer in Edpuzzle. Alrighty, prior to further persuasion, what is your initial opinion about the author's statement, "The business of sports always wins"? Alrighty guys, we're going to continue on with Section 2 that is titled Vast Economic Impact. The economic impact of those decisions is sobering, and Big Ten coaches were not shy about hammering home that point. Scott Frost of Nebraska, who played for us in Green Bay, and James Franklin at Penn State, who coached for us in Green Bay, spoke of those losses in the neighborhood of $100 million. And those numbers are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the economic havoc wreaked by the absence of college football. I lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin, for a decade, a city and region much more like one supporting a major college football team than a professional team. Indeed, in my recruiting of free agents, some of whom were reluctant to come, I played on the atmosphere of a college football town, with the community wrapping itself around the program. Alright guys, we're going to turn the page and continue on with Section 2. It is hard to measure the economic impact a fall without football in Green Bay, not to mention the negative psychological impact it would bring. When I was there, we calculated over $10 million per game weekend, with that number said to be roughly $14 million now. And in researching similar regions in Big Ten venues, the economic impact is strikingly similar. Penn State, with its state college, is $130 million per season. Michigan, with Ann Arbor, is $122 million per season. Wisconsin, in Madison, is $16 million per home game. Iowa, in Iowa City, is $14.5 million per home game. And Nebraska, in Lincoln, is $12 million per home game. I vividly remember talking to an NCAA executive when they levied the penalties on Penn State football following the Jerry Sandusky child abuse scandal. While many were suggesting that the NCAA was considering a 1-year death penalty for the program, the executive admitted to me that the death penalty was never a realistic option. "We can't do that. It will destroy that economy," he said, aware of the economic and psychological impact on the appropriately named Happy Valley. College football is often the poster for the university at large. Success on the field translates to success in development and admissions. I have seen it while working in Villanova. Our NCAA basketball championships in 2016 and 2018 led to upward trajectories in the number and quality of applicants, as well as more donations and development activity. Now other conferences, we think, will fill our Saturday afternoon screens, while Big Ten and Pac-12 brands will be out of sight, out of mind for the fall. Alrighty guys, and that is the end of Section 2. So what I'd like you to do, what form of persuasion, meaning ethos, pathos, or logos, is being used in the section in parentheses in Part 2? Explain how you know. So this is the section that I'm referring to. Scott Frost of Nebraska, who played for us in Green Bay, and James Franklin at Penn State, who coached for us in Green Bay, spoke of losses in the neighborhood of $100 million. Next, I'd like you to tell me what form of persuasion is being used, meaning ethos, pathos, or logos, within the section in Section 2 that is in parentheses with the stars. So here is the information listed once again. I would also like you to list 3 elements of Section 2 that are essential to understanding the article thus far, only in Section 2. So this is just a note. Summarizing, it means giving a brief statement describing the main points of a piece of writing. We are going to use our 3 elements that you have listed from Section 2 to summarize this section of the article. Just another note, I want to remind you that quoting is copying word for word a phrase from a written or spoken piece that with the indication that you are not the original author or speaker. So remember, when you are copying information from section 2 word for word, you must also note down on the Edpuzzle who is saying it and the fact that it is from a separate author, that you are not the original author. So we are going to quote the underlined portion of section 2. Alrighty guys, we're going to move on to section 3, which is uncertain future. Players and parents are creating petitions to have the Big Ten reverse their decision, but that is a long shot. Big Ten coaches are promoting playing in the spring to keep some normalcy and prevent player defecation. To that I say, 1. Hope is not a plan, and 2. Good luck with that. All of us, myself included, remarked in March, April, May that we'd surely have COVID contained by the fall when football returned. Well, it's not contained. It's worse, much worse. To suggest it will be contained in the spring is a hope, not a plan. Beyond the physical toll of playing in the spring and then playing again in the fall, it is unrealistic to believe top players will stick around. Just as some top prospects have done at other schools prior to their decisions, some will get a head start preparing for the NFL, combine, and draft. When they head to training facilities such as IMG of athletes' performance to be housed, fed, and trained, and probably bubbled, all at an agent's expense. Agents usually fund training from January through June for the tune of roughly $25,000. Now, we got to turn the page. Now they will fund training for twice as long at twice the cost. In relative terms, we are not talking about many players, but we are talking about the best ones. They may well be in college football for these conferences in the spring. It just won't have top talent as part of it. With those top prospects, unlike with the surprising conference decisions, the business of sports will prevail. Alrighty guys, that is the end of section 3. So we are going to look at our questions. Why would the author admit to the devastation COVID has wreaked on college sports through fear and uncertainty? So that would be the very beginning of section 3. Why would he admit to that? Next question we're looking at is what form of persuasion, meaning ethos, pathos, or logos, is being used in the section within the brackets with the stars in part 3. So it goes, in relative terms, we are not talking about many players, but we are talking about the best ones. There may well be college football for these conferences in the spring, it just won't have top talent as part of it. Alrighty guys. We are going to end on this section of the article for part 1, and we will pick up with part 2 to finish off the article. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.